Hi, and welcome to MAHA's Reputation Lecture Series. It's my pleasure today to introduce Paul Argenti, who's a professor of corporate communications at Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College, and he's also a member of our board here at MAHA. Paul is internationally known for his work and reputation, for his books on corporate communications, and the important role he plays in helping companies manage crisis. We're excited to hear from Paul, so I'll turn it right over to you, Paul.
Hello, my name is Paul Argenti, professor of corporate communication at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. I'm also a board member at MAHA Global, which is a company focused on reputation measurement. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the basics of reputation, a little bit about what it is, how it operates, and how to think about it in terms of measurement. The first thing that I would say to you is something that Henry Ford said many years ago, which is that you can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. It is based on actual things that you do, and you measure against those things. So that's an important first step in the process. In addition to that, it's part of a larger communication strategy that you need to incorporate into your thinking. Reputation is part of the organization or the corporation or the individual as you go into a communication. If we think about it, you as an individual or an organization create messages, you communicate them to audiences, and you receive feedback on those, which is part of a communication strategy framework. Reputation is part of who you are, what your credibility is all about going into that communication. It determines your success to some extent based on what people already know about you. One of the things to think about, however, in terms of reputation is that there is an actual reality to the organization that you work in. Let's call that, for lack of another term, corporate character. That character is determined by the things that you do, the things that you say, your brand architecture, the communications that you have, your annual reports. That needs to be tight, and it also needs to be clear enough that you communicate it consistently to multiple constituencies. If it is unclear, then the constituencies get mixed messages. So ideally, you operate as one, and those messages are highly coordinated. However, once your key constituencies, which today we think of as shareholders, customers, employees, and the communities in which we operate, they communicate with each other about what you have said and determine how they perceive what your organization is really like. The view from one constituency is the image that that particular constituency has of your organization. The collective images and the aggregate of those images is your reputation. And today, thanks to new tools, particularly ones that were developed at MAHA, we have the opportunity to measure each of those individually based on public data. Now, I want to go into a little bit more detail about what each of these are before we continue. The first thing is corporate character is that which is really true about you. And just as you as an individual, we can't know completely, we can't really know an organization. Again, image is the reflection of that reality from one constituency, and reputation is the collective images built up over time and the aggregate of those impressions. That helps us to think about this in a little bit more detail. Now, why does reputation matter? Companies that have a strong reputation have a price advantage. They also have a competitive advantage. And finally, and most importantly, these companies are much more stable than other organizations. Their stock price is stable, there's less volatility in the stock price, and they're able to hire people without any problem, because why wouldn't you want to be associated with an organization that has a high reputation? Many, many different reputation scorecards exist out there, all of them imperfect. I provided a list here for you to look at, but the Fortune Most Admired being the first one, RepTrack being one that we've looked at, Harris Interactive, and a whole host of other measures that are out there that allow us to think about reputation in a broad perspective. None of these is perfect. None of these actually describe what your reputation is all about. They're based on perceptions, often data that is collected from others about you, and they don't line up evenly. So you have to think about an aggregate of those measures in some way to get a real sense of what your organization is all about. Now, there is a relationship between your reputation and the risk associated with that reputation. And one way to think about it is that reputation is the most important asset that you have, and you should do everything you possibly can to protect that asset. And the way we think about that is that at the very least, you have a safety net in place that guides you in terms of thinking about reputation. At the high end, we have companies today that create a risk profile around the organization, solve for that risk, and are able to enhance their reputation as a result of that. No matter which of these tools you use, the one thing that I could advise you is that you really need to get a better sense of what your reputation actually is, and then what the gap is between the reality of the organization as you see it, and then you can start working on messaging to fill those gaps. There's a great quote from Socrates that says, "To gain a good reputation, endeavor to be what you desire to appear." And that is the key to success. If you do a good job, you're probably going to benefit. But then you have to think about communicating that. Start with good data and work from there. Thank you.